today. Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with meteorologist Justin Storm, Wonder Boy, as we know him here, and our wonderful and talented Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. How was the weekend, everybody? Did you enjoy it? Bridgette, the weather was beautiful.
It was nice. I did get a chance to get out and use my snowshoes as usual. I'm glad I did.
We melted away a lot of the snow. In fact, it's funny, I was taking a look at some pictures, on Facebook. They always have the memories. And from 2 years ago, no snow on the ground and people had their bikes out. Yep.
What a difference.
That was the year we had, I believe, that was 2 years ago where we were wearing shorts on St. Patty's Day. That will not be the case this year.
That was right when we kicked off the pandemic, because the trail I always use, I remember kids were out of school and it was crowded. We're talking skateboards, bikes, rollerblades, kids, dogs, wagons. It's a little obstacle course out there, but it was so much fun to see everybody able to use it.
Right. Yeah, but that's not the case, although we did dodge kind of a small little bullet here with snow with this last storm, but it did hit the south central part of the state and out in Bismarck and southward with plenty of snow. And that's not bad because they do need it out there. And we've got about two or maybe three more storms heading our way as we head throughout the next week or so. And the next one looks to be pretty weak, and then could see a stronger one towards the end of the week, and then another one possible before the weekend is done. So kind of a stormier pattern here. And, areas that need the moisture are getting it. That's the good news. And I'm sure we'll even have our own fair share of snow, additional snow here in the FM area as we head throughout the rest of the week as well. We'll kind of dive into that later. But
I want to go back to the Bismarck, the snow that they've had out there, because this is kind of
they've had a record amount of snow, I believe, so far to date this year. I don't want to say they're on pace because I don't know what the rate is, but it sure seems like they're on rate or on pace to have their snowiest winter ever on record. Before the last storm that just rolled through, they were at 75.5 inches of snow. That's their 9th snowiest winter. And they're still piling it on.
There's still storms to come. The record, for those that are wondering, the year 1996-97, 101.5 inches of snow.
And obviously that's going to lead to quite a bit of spring flooding out to our west.
They are 2 feet behind number one.
Are they for number
well,
one?
okay.
2 feet. A little more than 2 feet.
But wait a minute about that spring flooding. Remember, we've talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
What's their frost depth?
Correct.
Is this going to be runoff or is it going to go into the ground? And you look at like Lakes Kakawea and so forth, they have been down.
Right.
Now, all that heavy snowfall that we've had along the Missouri River system starting out in the mountains is going to come right on through Fort Peck, Lakes Kakawea, keep moving down, and it's going to hit the Missouri and possibly help the Mississippi. And not only, I have a lot of weather-related stories today, and the Mississippi's actually on the rise. Might talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah, it is on the rise. That's great news because remember last year, all near record low with barge traffic, having a hard time getting down there. But they've especially the lower part of the Mississippi has really started to take a rise. And still, we need more snow. But look at Minneapolis has had just an incredible amount of snow this year as well. That will drain in to the Mississippi. So that's great news there. So good news all around with this year's snowfall from the Sierra Nevada range to the Rockies. I mean, places that really need it the most are really receiving it this year in terms of snow. Now, like our guest today who's out in far west Texas, boy, I mean, just they can't seem to shake those drought conditions out there. And boy, I'm telling you, I don't see much change in that as we head into this upcoming season. Now, Gary will have more on that on our LRC special tomorrow. So this time tomorrow, we'll be having our LRC spring and summer outlook, and we'll be diving into the rest of spring and summer for mainly our area. But again, we'll touch on some of the drought-stricken areas in West Texas, in the Oklahoma Panhandle, in western parts of Kansas, where, those areas are just bone dry, and it's just they really need moisture, and they need it quick.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, we've seen the nation rise from 66% drought status to somewhere about 45, I think is the current number. But the areas that are still in drought status, it is bad. And again, as you alluded to, Dean, that's who our guest is going to be today to talk about that. Before we get to that segment of our show, though, one more thing back out to Bismarck. If anyone is traveling, especially you're going west on I-94, it's not real pretty as far as ice. It starts pretty much at Valley City. But I did have a conversation with a friend earlier this morning, and when you get to Dickinson and west, it is essentially solid ice through Medora. A lot of trucks and semis and cars in the ditch. So everybody be careful if you're heading westward today, please.
Yeah, they got quite a bit more, and they'll probably be one of the bullseyes on this next storm system as well. And come April, when we have that post Easter storm that comes through here. Typically climatologically that favors the west, central, and western part of the state. So we'll see how that pans out for them in April. So yeah, we're not quite done. We're not done with the winter yet. That's for sure.
I'm gonna go back to talking about the drought conditions, and you were kind of touching about where those were at. And there are, the East Coast is doing pretty good. There's just a few spots that are a little abnormally dry and a little dry down in the Florida as well, but as we were kind of touching, the central U.S. is where the big bullseye is. Bullseye in central Texas, the Panhandle still in some severe drought category, but the worst of it is mainly in Kansas and Oklahoma. That's where the extreme and exceptional drought is ongoing, as well as in the northeastern corner of Nebraska.
And the good news is about Nebraska, a lot of farmland in the northeastern part of that state. According to the LRC, supposed to have a wet spring and wet start to summer, so that's good. That will help alleviate a lot of the drought conditions down there.
All right, if we're going to alleviate things, by the way, I need to take this moment to let folks know that if they want to alleviate some of that pressure of sending kids off to college, Hess Corporation has announced that they are putting out some scholarships. They have $40,000 worth of scholarships for applicants who are students that have exhibited at the North Dakota State Fair. If you are a 4-H'er or a member of the FFA and you are pursuing an education related to the gas and oil industry, there is a scholarship application for you. Email me here, ag@flagfamily.com. I can send you the link and get you in touch with the right folks, but nobody ever wants to turn down scholarship money for students. As a parent, I'm for free money for kids to go to college. That sounds great to me. So I hope others are interested in that too. But please do email me here and I'll help you out.
Speaking of emailing you, Bridgette, there was a listener that sent you a question. I believe it was regarding Asian longhorns. Is that correct?
Oh, okay. So the Asian longhorn tick. And this is a tick that we talked about last summer. It was recently discovered in the U.S., primarily the East Coast and the Southeast U.S. And the tick has in fact been a problem in a couple of herds, especially in Virginia. There's been some cattle that have been bit and affected and wound up to be a fatal situation for them. Is that tick going to grow in problem size? Potentially, but I would imagine if we had a talk with a vet out there, they might be able to talk about some insecticides that could also help prevent that tick as well.
What are the concerns with this tick? You said that the cattle that got bit by it, they ended up dying, but what's the big concern behind it? Is disease that it's carrying, or?
Usually with something like that, it's disease, and you don't want to have a great big infestation that could carry through to multiple herds. So far, it seems to be in a fairly isolated area. When we first talked about this tick last summer, it doesn't like our winters and this type of climate, so the chances that we would see it here are a little less likely. I think the greater concern on the scope of most livestock producers right now is if foot and mouth disease were to take a hold here in the United States. That would be a tremendous problem for us because it is so very it can spread so easily, right? You can move that throughout your herd very rapidly, and it would not only affect our cattle, but our sheep and our hogs as well.
So when they do trade of livestock, we had a guest on, I forgot what his name was. He's the goat farmer, and he was shipping his goats over to Taiwan. And there's a big procedure for them leaving the United States to go over there. But is that the same kind of regulations in place for going the other way around? Or I'm sure that the United States probably steps in and does it before they are even close to being here, correct?
So you're referencing our guest, Tyler Gisvold. He's from southern Minnesota, and yes, he does raise boar goats, and they do ship them around the world. And Tyler talked about having a 30-day quarantine period once he gets them to a port where they have to go through their veterinary exam before they can leave the country. You are correct that when animals come back into the United States, we would need to do the same. Not every country has the same standards that we do, and so that's why the U.S. is incredibly strict. Even when we as vacationers come back to the country, have you visited a farm? Are your shoes clean? You're not bringing any odd fruits or vegetables, etc., back that could bring a fungus or a disease. So that's just one of the biosecurity measures that the U.S. does to ensure we don't get those types of things infecting our livestock production or our crops as well.
And Bridgette, I got a quick question, and I don't know if you addressed this morning with Bonnie and friends, but Bonnie was saying that she was down in the St. Cloud area, and there was a farmer spreading manure on his fields. Even when there's snow on the ground, what's that all about? Is that for fertilization for spring?
Well, it would be. You'd want manure for fertilizer, right? And sometimes you run out of storage place and you've got to take it somewhere. Now, I have a lot of questions I'd want to ask that particular farmer. Is his ground froze? If he's spreading it with the anticipation that he's going to have a warm up and it's going to be absorbed, or he can work it into the ground so that it doesn't act as runoff and into any streams, that'd be great. But I just don't know enough about the situation. It's very common for us to spread manure on farms. Maybe not always this time of the year, but I just want to ask the farmer what the plan was for it. He may have one.
Because I know they've got quite a bit of snow on the ground down there. So when
more than we do.
Yeah, when Bonnie was saying that, I was kind of surprised.
Well, but with that snow acting as an insulation, and it's there's not much frost there, he could likely be working it in sooner than we expect too.
Gotcha.
It's going to stay frozen on top until he gets a chance to get in the field.
I see. Well, we were touching on the drought conditions and what's kind of going on with that. Those that might be getting some alleviation from the drought, we're going to be speaking from someone who's right in the middle of it, and they recently had a big storm that rolled through. This is through the panhandle of Texas. It was a pretty damaging derecho that came through there, and at one point, or at one location, I believe it was a wind gust of 113, 117 miles an hour, and most of these gusts were 70 to 80 mile per hour range. But we're going to be speaking with Quentin Shieldknight, correct, Bridgette? He's down in the panhandle of Texas, and we're going to be talking about what he's had to experience with the drought conditions and that storm, right?
Yes, we will. Quentin, I know him from Twitter. He was kind enough to say, sure, I'll talk with you. And especially after I saw he was quoted in a recent Ag Magazine article talking about what happened with that derecho when it blew through. So we're going to talk to Quentin when we come back. Again, he's from Spearman, Texas, and we're looking forward to visiting with him right after this.
Time now for Focus on the Field Ag News, brought to you by Hess Corporation.
Researchers at the University of Minnesota have discovered a surrogate virus to African swine fever that can be used to safely develop mitigation strategies. ASF, as it is known, is a highly contagious foreign animal disease, but there is a virus system out there that affects algae, and it's got a lot of similarities to that of the African swine fever virus. The surrogate is called EHV, and one of those similarities is the ability to withstand extreme heat. It is able to go above 100 degrees Celsius or 200 plus Fahrenheit to even get close to destroying the virus. So that's the lab part of using this breakthrough virus in studies for the African swine fever. The next step will be to determine exactly how U.S. protocols should be changed to keep pigs and pig feed safe.
That's today's Focus on the Field with Bridgette Readel, your ag industry expert, brought to you by Hess. Tune in for Bridgette's Ag News updates each weekday here on WDAY.
Hey, hockey fans, the National Collegiate Hockey Conference returns to Xcel Energy Center for the 2023 NCHC Frozen Face-Off March 17th and 18th. Don't miss a moment of the fantastic excitement and all the great tournament activities, including FanFest and the NCHC Fan Skate. It's the 2023 NCHC Frozen Face-Off live from Xcel Energy Center March 17th and 18th. Purchase tickets now at Ticketmaster.com.
Hunter Insurance Agency in Hunter, North Dakota provides insurance you can trust and count on. Whether it's crop, hail, farm, home, or auto insurance, Hunter Insurance is here to help provide peace of mind that you are well covered. Call Agent Johnny Jorgensen or visit hunterinsuranceagency.com for more information.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No. We tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our client's best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
The chilly weather is here whether we like it or not. And the team at Precision Concrete Cutters Ramjack North wants you to know that because Mother Nature doesn't rest this time of year, neither do we. The frost and snow create moisture in the ground, and this can cause stress on your foundation. Precision Concrete Cutters Ramjack North, we have the solution for every basement problem.
So when Mother Nature strikes, contact your complete foundation experts, the team at Precision Concrete Cutters Ramjack North. Go to pccnd.com. That's pccnd.com.
If you're looking for honest, dependable, over-the-top customer service at affordable prices, you'll want to do business with Welton's Tire Service in Lisbon, North Dakota. Welton's is a name you've grown to trust, proudly serving the area for 50 years. Welton's Tire always works hard for customer satisfaction and service. They offer brands for every make. If you need tires, repair, maintenance, or on-farm tire service, contact Welton's Tire on Main Street in Lisbon. Tell them Beth sent you. Online at weltonstire.net.
Hunter Insurance Agency in Hunter, North Dakota provides insurance you can trust and count on. Whether it's crop, hail, farm, home, or auto insurance, Hunter Insurance is here to help provide peace of mind that you are well covered. Call Agent Johnny Jorgensen or visit hunterinsuranceagency.com for more information.
Welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette Readel, Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Meteorologist Extraordinaire Justin Storm. And yes, that is his real name. I mean, I asked that question too.
Well, his middle name is
Today,
Extraordinaire, right?
I think that's about right.
Okay.
He also did not let us help out when it came time to name his child, because I was really voting for Thunder.
I tried.
Didn't get it, huh? Thanks.
I was going for snow.
The wife put the foot down.
Well, today we have a guest who's also got his foot down very firmly in the panhandle of Texas, and we're going to visit with Quentin Shieldknight. Quentin is in Spearman, Texas. And Quentin, I'm looking forward to you going ahead and introducing yourself. Tell us all about you and where you're at.
I am a fourth-generation farmer here in the Texas Panhandle. My name is Quentin Shieldknight, and farm here with my dad and my sister. And my sister's family operation here in Spearman, Texas. We farm in Hansford, Ochiltree, and Hutchinson County here in the Texas Panhandle.
All right, so cattle, correct, and as well as farm.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
what's in your crop rotation?
That's correct. Right now, we on the cattle side, we raise registered and commercial red Angus. Currently have our private treaty bull sale going on, and then crop rotations are normally like a corn cotton rotation. Dryland here is usually a dryland wheat, cotton, and fallow rotation. Trying to capture what moisture we can on that fallow acre and be able to follow it with wheat, and then we like to plant cotton behind the wheat stubble. So we don't have to deal with near the dust conditions, but right now that's just not able to be happening.
Okay, tell us about the last couple of years. She's been a little bit dry. I just give us a picture of what's been going on for you.
So I'll go all the way back to, I want to say 2020. Our last major rain event was in that July. And then the drought kind of started rolling in from there. And then all of last year was similar to 2011. The only blessing we had last year is that we just didn't have the massive unrelenting wind almost every day like we did in 2011. We were able to kind of navigate through that. The drought, the crops weren't as bad last year as they were in 2011. And then all the way into the fall, we got even drier, and this winter's just been absolutely bone dry.
All right, so many more questions. Have you been able to harvest in 20 and 21? And I know you talked about dryland wheat. I'm going to take a stab at that. That's winter wheat, actually. What are you actually getting out of the ground these days? Anything?
Okay, so where we have irrigation, we're blessed with irrigation with the Ogallala Aquifer here. So we've been able to harvest irrigated acres, but dryland has been hit and miss. So if you're fortunate enough to get a spring thunderstorm and we're able to bank some moisture, there's been a crop or two that we've been able to harvest dryland wise, but it's basically half of our APH or under our APH. There's been a lot of it's just been plowed under, had to spray it and kill it because it wasn't good enough when the insurance adjusters came and looked at it. So, but irrigation wise, we had a good crop in 20. Had a decent crop in 21. 22 was off, and then 23 right now is kind of scary going into it.
Mm-hmm. And Quentin, I'm going to piggyback off on one of the things you just said about insurance. So if you know there's another, the drought is going to continue this year all the way through the summer and fall months, obviously you're going to take insurance out on that. Have rates been, since the drought has expanded and continued for the last couple of years, have insurance rates gone up, or do they kind of remain the same down there?
No, I think they've gone up a little bit. And, a guy's got to be mindful, like if you're doing a revenue protection, whether you want to go ahead and go on up in that 70 to 80% range or what works. I think on the cotton, we've been able to take out stacks, which has been a good option for us on the cotton side of stuff. Currently, where we are in the Texas Panhandle, we don't have base acres for cotton in our actual county, so it's kind of at a disadvantage for us versus what they get around the Lubbock area. So guys had to have been pretty heads up on what you can and can't do when you don't have those base acres for cotton. But we do have corn base, milo base, and wheat base.
And if you're dealing with this, and more than likely you'll probably see the conditions continuing to be on the dry side, how does that impact the planting, the agriculture that's going down there? What kind of decisions do you have to make, or changes do you have to change for the crops that you're putting in? If this is, a crop that usually needs a little bit more moisture, are you selecting something that's a little more drought hardy, something that can do well on less water, different variety of seed?
That's correct. So like a couple of the things that several of us around the table have been talking is either delay planting even further. So like we typically plant first, some guys will start around the first 10 days of April. We kind of trying to plant towards the late April window, and some of us has even been discussing, because there's been rumblings of this thing maybe break by late summer, or we may even delay planting all the way into the first half of May and see if we can't back pollination out of our hottest part of those months there in July and try to go further back so that when we are pollinating, maybe we'll get a break later in August instead of that first part of August. Discussions have been with grain sorghum over corn with a less water use crop. So then maybe that crop gets planted in the 1st of June and you push it back that much further. So there's there's been discussion where guys are trying to lower inputs, push the crop back, and see if we can't try to ride this thing out.
Right. So up here, when we deal with the delayed planting, it's usually due because, well, either there's too much snow on the ground still, or because we got too much snow and the river's flooded and you can't get into your field because they're too wet. But you're kind of doing it in the opposite way, in a way so your crops don't use as much moisture and you're avoiding the heat, correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir. So like our peak heat, July's pretty hot, and then you get into that first part of August, and it really cranks up down here.
Mm-hmm.
And then back towards the end of August, I'd say like that third week, fourth week in August, we'll start going back down and start having our fall. September here is usually pretty nice. So some guys have actually decided maybe we need to push back where we're pollinating later in August and then take advantage of that September cooling down some, where we can finish that crop on cooler weather instead of the hot weather of August.
I see. And is this something that you've done personally, or this is people you know, friends, neighbors that are doing this?
So last year when we had the drought, we mitigated risk by doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So we planted half of our corn early, and we did half of the corn late. And our later planted corn was better on average than our early planted corn.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was about 10 bushels. And so, at 10 bushels with these prices is a significant number for us on the acres. And so it doesn't take much to convince yourself to try to do it again.
I see. And that's the direction I was going to go with this. Is it working? Is it proven to work? And it sounds like it is. Well, Quentin, we got to hit bottom of the hour here. A couple minutes past. That's all right. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll rejoin this conversation. We'll talk about how the drought conditions are continuing to affect the area down there. And as well, you guys just had a major storm that rolled through, and it was going to be interesting to see what kind of damage that ended up doing with that devastating derecho that ran through the southern portion of the U.S. And if you have questions for any of us or Quentin, feel free to do so. Join in the conversation. Pick up the phone call. We love when you do. 701-293-9000. Again, that phone number is 701-293-9000. Stay tuned. Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be right back.
The Jay Thomas Show.
How's it going today?
Good. How you doing?
Not too bad.
Good.
Hey, I got an old buddy of mine named Tim Gast. He's probably about a late 50s, early 60s vintage. He doesn't work very hard or very long, but he does still work.
Uh-oh. We got a situation.
I'll leave that at that. So, thanks, Jay.
The Jay Thomas Show, weekday afternoons at 2 here on WDAY.
Are you suffering from neuropathy? Do you experience stabbing pain, numbness, tingling, or burning in your feet? Are you tired of sleepless nights and avoiding life due to pain? If you've been diagnosed with neuropathy or are experiencing pain or numbness in your feet, pick up the phone and call us right now before it's too late at 701-929-7545. Again, that's 701-929-7545. Neuropathy is a very serious and progressive disease where your nerves start to break down. Eventually, it leads to balance problems, falls, complete loss of independence, and it can lead to amputation. Our program addresses the underlying causes and doesn't simply mask your symptoms with medication. In fact, many patients start experiencing relief from neuropathy symptoms within weeks. There's no surgery and no use of prescription drugs. Pick up the phone right now and call 701-929-7545. Call us today at Dakota Clinic of Chiropractic at 701-929-7545 today.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work. Sorry, I'm late. Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
College hockey fans, the NCHC Frozen Faceoff returns to St. Paul and the state of hockey March 17th and 18th. 4 NCHC teams will take the ice with the tournament championship on the line. Don't miss a moment of the action live from XL Energy Center for the 2023 NCHC Frozen Faceoff March 17th and 18th. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
Olivet Lutheran Church in Fargo invites you to join us for worship Sunday mornings at 8:30 and 10:30 and Wednesday evenings at 6. During this time of Lent, our theme is No Greater Love, where we will reflect on God's love for us through the death of Jesus on the cross. Our sanctuary is also open Wednesdays during lunch for individual reflection and prayer, where you can light a candle, leave a prayer at the cross, or simply be still. For more information and to watch all of our services online, go to olivet.org.
The Coffee Club with Janae and Ronnie.
Do you watch Wheel of Fortune every day?
Every evening, yes.
Oh, my.
Yes.
All
I'm
right.
a wheel watcher. Yeah.
Okay. Lions, camels, and elephants.
Oh, my.
I want to go back to the coastline. I don't care about this.
Ronnie, that's tiger, lions, and bears. Oh, my.
I know, right?
We are a lot more smarter, I would say.
A lot
Ronnie?
more smarter.
Wow.
The Coffee Club, weekdays 8:30 to 11 on WDAY.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in
W.
Focus. Oh, you can go, Bridgette. That's fine.
We have 2 openers today.
We could go at the same time. We could have a little duet.
Nobody can't say we aren't excited today.
Not at
Right?
all.
All right, go for it, Justin.
Well, Quentin, when we left off, we were kind of talking about that derecho that came through, and you were recently kind of involved in an article down there as well. Like some interesting stuff that was going on with that derecho. And in this article, I believe that they were talking about static electricity that was formed. How did that affect the cotton crop that's gone down there with that derecho? Because it kicked up so much dirt, it created all the static electricity. And for those who haven't seen the videos of that storm rolling through, imagine one of our good old classic blizzards up here, except it's a lot warmer, and instead of snow, it's just dirt pelting you in the face for hours.
Yes, sir. So we talked about it. So static electricity with cotton, when we do have a cotton crop up. Right now we won't plant that crop till May. Mm-hmm. But one thing that cotton doesn't handle real well is static electricity. And when it rolls through, when those young seedlings are first up, it'll kill quite a few of them. And so we had quite a bit of dirt in the air. And so our wheat that did come up is real small right now. And between the dust particles in the air and that static electricity rolling through, that dryland wheat that was still left looks like it's got not much green and not much life left to it. And so when it takes that much of a beating from like 2:30, 3, 4 o'clock that afternoon all the way into the night, it's just a relentless attack on that little plant. And what we're seeing in the fields now is just some major damage to that crop. So
from that event that just rolled through, I mean, how much damage, and maybe this is a speculative question, I don't know if there's actual figures out on it yet, but how much damage did it do to the ag community in that area that was most heavily affected with it? Because a large bulk of it was wind gusts between 70 and 80 some odd miles per hour, but there were a few that topped out in the 100 mile per hour range.
Right. So like right now, you talk to some people who are down around that Memphis area, mm-hmm. where they got up to around 114 miles an hour. There's pivots down, there's bends messed up, there's a few houses lost roofs, and in the areas around Emerald and Lubbock, there's pictures of people losing barn roofs or house roofs around town. There's dirt piled into parking lots that you've never imagined could ever be in the middle of town, and just have sand blowing right down the street. Everyday people who aren't tied to agriculture were posting pictures going, oh my goodness. And my grandmother went through the dirty 30s and used to talk about having to roll up towels underneath windows and underneath doors and getting them wet because that relentless attack of that dirt coming into the house for so many days in a row. And, our generation's not used to seeing that. And there was pictures of people going, how did all this dirt get in my house? And, when you're pushing that wind that much, there's only so many things a storm window can do, and then eventually it'll break. So how often have you had these
maybe not to the extent of that derecho, but these storms, the bow echoes, obviously it's been dry, so probably not too many, but what the dust storms I'm trying to refer to, has that been an increasing thing that's been going on down there?
I would say, used to they just never called them a derecho. They just thought it was an outflow boundary coming from a cold front. But it seems like the intensity of these have increased enough that, we've given them a name and the damage that they do. Typically, when we see winds like that, it's usually with the storm front where we have a big line of thunderstorms that rolls through, and that's usually when we get them. But in this particular instance, that day, that wind came early in front of the storms and got it going worse. And then behind it, we got some storms behind it, which kicked it up again. And so it was kind of a double whammy a week ago Sunday.
Right. So when you get these storms and the dust, the static that affects the cotton, and you're damaging the crops, you're killing them off. The cotton is obviously getting hit hard. What does that do to the markets down there and the demand for the products, or the, I guess you call it product, that's not going to be there?
Mm-hmm. Right. So like right now, the biggest effect we have is, our winter wheat crops up first. And so the late thing that I kind of had visited with some other people is, our cow herd's under a big attack here, and the grass is just non-existent. And all of us had planted dryland wheat early, and we were able to get it up last September in certain places. And we all thought that we would get a rain or something here along the way since September, and that we'd be able to roll those cows out of the grass and be able to graze that wheat out late this year. And so it's making a big damage on being able to hold those cows longer than we thought we were going to be able to. And so guys now are having to decide if the irrigated wheat crop's good enough to be able to keep and hang on to those cows. And then, it just makes a bigger impact on what wheat will go into storage. And so we're starting to see bases creep up and get bigger, which is beneficial to who has wheat left. But sooner or later, that wheat or that outside feed grain or outside feed items are going to have to come from somewhere else, because we just don't have them here.
And Quentin, up north here, when we get blizzards, big snowstorms, and the ranchers have enough time, they'll make sure that their livestock is protected somehow. When this derecho and this big wind event slammed into your area, how did you protect your livestock, and did you lose any livestock from it?
We didn't lose any livestock in this one particularly, except for maybe here in the next week or two, we might see some dust pneumonia show up. And so we'll have to go through those calves and make sure nothing has like pneumonia, and make sure to doctor those calves if it shows up. Where we're at, the only thing you can hide behind is a fence post. There's no trees here. So guys have got to get creative and make windbreaks, or we make windbreaks out of bales and then fence them off with a hot wire, or we try to get them where we can if we have a draw or something where we're down in the valleys, the few that we do have. So a blessing for us that day is we had a lot of our young cows down in the breaks where they could get out of it, but our older cows were here at my dad's. But the fortunate thing about my dad's is there's a bunch of barns to get them behind, so we were able to feed them behind it. But things like that will start showing up before long, is how much dust did those cows have blowing through them, and then how much did it affect their lungs.
Yeah, exactly. And Dean, that was a great question, because that's something that doesn't show up right away. And pneumonia, just like when we get it as humans, it starts to show its symptoms, and that's when you treat. So that leads me to ask more about the livestock herds, though, Quentin. And are you seeing a major shift in the size of herds, that folks are realizing they've got to downsize because of the drought, with the hope they can bring them back at some point? Or do you think most everybody's still kind of hanging on to their herd numbers for the most part?
I think we've had a major reduction. I think if you look at any livestock sale, you used to see it, there was no test on killer cows or killer bulls. But if you look around the area, it almost seems like each week there's another set of cattle that has come in, and there's a test on killer prices. And so I think everybody's gotten rid of the older ones, the weaker ones, and the ones that can't take this much of a beating. But before long, if it doesn't break pretty soon, I'd imagine there's going to be some young cows headed town.
Oh, I would have to say you're exactly right. And your pastures, as you said, don't look good right now. Even if you start to get rain, what's your prognosis for recovery on those pastures? How long could that take?
Oh, I think it's a multi-year recovery on our native pastures. There's just you dig down 6 feet with a backhoe and you can't even find moisture. And so it's going to take some significant soaking rains, a slow rain, and things of that nature. And then guys are going to have to really think hard about stocking those pastures at an extremely low rate. Luckily, a couple years ago, we were tired of having these droughts and tired of the impact it was having on our cow herd. My dad loves his cows, and we did everything we could to hang on to his cows and our cows. And so we planted some irrigated grass. And so we do have some irrigated pasture, and then we've worked with NRCS, and we're going to put some more in here in the next 2 weeks. And so hopefully we can get that irrigated grass up and running where we can hang on to what we can.
Well, and Quentin, all indications are from our long-term models is that by later this year we should start to flip the switch and go into what's called an El Nino pattern, which typically will bring a little more rain to the southern states. So hopefully that will help your problem. And I don't know if you've heard of the LRC model. It's a patent-pending new model that forecasts long-term, and we will have a special on tomorrow at 2 in the afternoon Central Time. And we'll have Gary kind of focus on your area of the country there for a little bit because the accuracy rate with this LRC model is 80% out to 6 months. So we'll try to focus in a little bit on your area, let you know kind of what it's going to be like down there for the next 6 months or so.
And
that'll be great.
We had a question come in. They were wondering, if you have to venture out for a water source, how expensive would that be, or would it even be possible? Say you guys just completely dry up.
Okay, so the number one water source here for us is the Ogallala Aquifer. That some of the groundwater reaches down to around 850 feet till we hit red bed. And so being able to drill those domestic wells for a house or for cattle is still a viable option for us. And so we set those up almost on every pasture. We want to keep them within less of a mile than those cows have to walk. If we can centralize all that water to the middle of the pasture, it keeps them from having to expend so much energy to get to that water source. But here it's still a viable option. Other parts of the Panhandle, maybe down to the South Plains and back west of the Western Panhandle, I believe, some of those water sources are a little bit harder to come by because the more we pull on the aquifer, the less recharge we have on it right now with this drought.
And you had mentioned was that 850 feet down to hit that water source?
Some of them are as deep as that. Most wells in our area are in that 500, 600 foot deep with a water table in that 380 to 4 1/4 range. And so there's still a couple hundred feet of saturated thickness in some parts of the Panhandle, but some back to the west. If you're on the upward slope of the way the Ogallala lays, it's a little bit harder. And so guys are trying to dig tanks out now. And so in the event that we do finally get a runoff rain, we can catch it.
That's crazy, 850 feet. I think our well depths around here are like 40 to 110.
Yeah.
That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back because you had mentioned with the wind, no real wind breaks that are down there. When you get these events, this was a topic that got brought up on another show a couple weeks ago about the repurposing of wind turbine blades because they're very hard to recycle, and we have hundreds of them that are just chilling up here doing absolutely nothing because they don't really degrade. What would your thoughts be on using those blades as some form of a fencing or a windbreak? Because I mean, they're long, you can cut them up, you can do whatever you wanted to them. How does that idea kind of go through your brain, or how does that process with you?
On the surface, I think it's an excellent idea. But the one thing I believe those turbine blades are made out of is they have a carbon fiber, like a fiberglass material. And so sometimes you can see some of those videos where those blades splinter.
Right.
There's been some discussion as farmers say those cows will go pick those shards up. And then once they get them in their room and they're seeing some damage from those particular blades, it's definitely something a guy needs to research, I think, before. I don't know if there's some kind of coating or something we can put on to preserve the surface of those blades. I think it'd be an excellent way to keep the cows from having to deal with that harsh environment. I think a guy's just got to do his research on what kind of impact, if those blades are made out of fiberglass or what kind of material they're made out of, that those cows just don't pick it up and they don't get it in their rumen.
I see it. Well, we're just about out of time here. I'm going to leave this last minute for you if you want to plug any social media content that you maybe create, or a website, or if there's anything that maybe people want to try and get a hold of you about something, anything like that.
Okay. First off, I just want to thank the Ag Twitter community. They have been more than a blessing to me and my family. There's been several that have reached out, and thank you from the bottom of our heart, from my wife and my kids. Just want to tell y'all thanks. Again, like I said, right now we're going through our private treaty bull sale here. So if you're interested in some Red Angus bulls, we have some 2-year-old and 18-month-old bulls. I want to thank Bridgette for your presence on Twitter. You're an advocate and have done an excellent job, and we appreciate what you do on a daily basis. It was amazing. My son Logan likes the seed diggers, and so one year he put it out there that he was looking for somebody who's willing to pay for them, but he was able to get seed diggers all the way throughout the United States. He's even from as far away as Australia. So it's amazing what the ag community can do for one another and how much they bless one another. I think it's a unique and wonderful community, and I just wish more people in the cities got to know the heart of all these farmers and ranchers and how much they literally care about feeding your family, as many families as we got to feed. Each one of us we take it as an honor to raise that feed for you guys, and we love our communities, and we want to do the best we can for each and every one of them.
All right, well, I want to thank you very much for taking some time out of your day to kind of explain what's going on down there, and we hope you can get some relief. And that special tomorrow will be on from 2 to 5 o'clock, so we hope that you're able to listen. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call during it as well.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, guys. God bless you.
No problem. You as well. When we come back, we'll continue this not this conversation, but some more on some ag topics, and I'll look at the forecast. But first, we'll get you updated with the American Ag Network.
Hey, it's Bonnie Mastati from Bonnie and Friends. Join us weekday mornings beginning at 5. Coming up on our next show, we're going to chat a little bit with WDAY Ag Director Bridgette Readel about the LRC special, which is Tuesday, March 7th. And Mary Aldrich from Minn Kota Recycling, Moorhead Public Works Director Steve Iverson will join us. Did you know you can't put glass in your curbside recycling anymore in Fargo and Moorhead? We will get all the details. All this and more in the next Bonnie and Friends beginning at 5 a.m. Join us.
North Dakota winters can be freezing cold, making many things brittle. Some days it's like the air is made of broken glass.
Some don't care, like snowmen don't care. They love the cold. But the cold is mean and hard on cars and homes.
North Dakota temperatures combined with strong winds makes for a monster cutting through our homes' windows and doors.
Just like a robber, they'll steal your heat, your comfort, even the peaceful silence you enjoy at home. I'm Jaden.
And I'm Andrew, the manager of the Window and Door Store in Fargo. We've been helping North Dakotans find the right replacement windows and doors for 16 years.
Whether you want to replace 1 or 2 windows or more, we'll go to your home or business when it works for you and show you windows and doors that are made to stand up to North Dakota weather in every season.
We'll give you a no obligation, no pressure estimate.
We give everyone our lifetime guarantee on the installation of our windows.
The Window and Door Store in Fargo. Better windows, better doors.
Now is the perfect time to upgrade your kitchen with new appliances from Regal's. Get up to $2,000 back on select GE Profile appliances now through June 1st, featuring the latest smart home technology, providing a simpler and smarter cooking and cleaning experience. Smart technology meets unbeatable prices, plus free delivery and free recycling of your old appliances. Find out why for over 75 years Regal's has delivered value. Regal's, 609 Main Avenue, Moorhead.
Soybeans and meal continue to rally at midday. This is the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen with this market update. We're talking now with Arlen Suderman of StoneX. Arlen, let's take a look at the trade on Monday, starting off with soybeans and bean meal, finding some buying strength ever since the open here today. Doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of fresh news out there. So what is driving this rally in the beans and the meal here today?
Yeah, it's money flow here at the beginning of the month, early in the month, continuing based on the Argentine drought. I can certainly make an argument against it, but you know what? It's perception is reality, and if the perception of the of the funds is that the meal supplies are going to be tight. They're going to pump money in. And we see this each time that Argentina has a drought. It doesn't necessarily translate into increased demand for U.S. meal, particularly if Brazil has a big crop. And certainly Brazil does have the capacity to offset the losses in Argentina, but the perception of the market is there's going to be a shortage, and therefore they're buying it, and it doesn't pay to argue with the money flow.
How about corn and wheat? I've noticed some pretty hefty pressure holding in winter wheat here so far to start the week. Any notes between wheat and corn here today?
Well, wheat is the driver here, and it started selling off overnight. Expectations that we're going to see an extension of the grain initiative allows Ukraine to ship, and so that put pressure on the wheat market. It broke through key chart support, and the momentum traders just kind of piled on with double-digit losses. That's pulled corn under. I think corn would be positive because of the Argentine drought, if not for that. And so wheat is the weak leg here of the grain and oilseed complex.
Once again, that's Arlen Suderman of StoneX. Meantime, feeder cattle futures up aggressively, live cattle up moderately, hogs mixed. This is the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen reporting.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for rejoining us. 1:57 this afternoon, and we were just speaking with Quentin down from Spearman, Texas. Pretty unfortunate situation going on down there with the drought conditions, the storms, the wind damaging the crops, static electricity killing the cotton, the cattle not handling it well, the aquifers are drying. It just sounds like a mess down there. We hope we can get some relief down to those areas throughout this year. But Bridgette, let's touch on an ag topic here, because this is one that was tickling me and Dean, and this is the FDA milk label changes. What can you tell me about these changes to the milk label?
Okay, so the FDA came out with a draft proposal that they are not going to ask things like almond milk, oat milk, etc., to drop the word milk from their titles. What they have decided is that producers can go ahead and continue to use that title, but they would have to list their nutritional facts to show that they are not as nutritionally friendly as a dairy product would be. Now, I think there's plenty of space to argue, especially because there were 4 senators from Wisconsin, Idaho, Maine, and Vermont who then reintroduced the Dairy Pride Act. They wanted to prohibit the mislabeling of these products that are not dairy-based, nor do they come from goat or sheep. And so they want to make sure that people understand that products are manufactured for human consumption and derived from the processing of milk products. So we'll see where that leads. Right now, this is the current proposal by FDA, but they are strongly being opposed to allow that action to continue.
And you know, there was a movie or a series called The Ranch. I don't know if you've seen that with Sam Elliott.
I have.
And he said almond milk. I've never seen a nipple on an almond before in my life. So I think he's got a little point there.
Can I just be clear that actually on a cow, that's actually called a teat?
A teat.
There's no teat on those.
There's no teat on an almond.
Almond, yeah. I'll get you guys T-shirts. That
There you
say
go.
that, not nipples. Okay.
All right.
Well, should we run down that forecast
Let's run
one
down
last
the
time
forecast
here, Dean?
real quick. We've got a pretty decent day today in terms of, at least we've got some sunshine out there. Temperature is stuck in the teens, but warmer 30s out in Lakes Country. Tonight we'll drop down to near 0. Tomorrow clouds come back. We'll probably see some snow developing towards evening. Highs tomorrow in the 20s, and then on and off snow for the rest of the week. We've got a couple of systems coming our way. It doesn't look like a lot of snow from any particular storm, but it'll add up by the end of the week. And we want to remind everybody about tomorrow. From 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, we'll have our spring and summer LRC outlook. We'll have Gary Lezak on with us, myself, Justin, Bridgette, and we invite you to call in 701-293-9000 and ask questions, especially for that last hour of the show. It's from 2 to 5. And if you have any questions in advance for us, send us an email, weather@flagfamily.com or ag@flagfamily.com. Again, that'll be during the Jay Thomas Show tomorrow. We'll break down month by month what it looks like for our ag community, what it looks like if you've got any big trips, or what the holidays look like.
We'll be asking the Magic 8 Ball if it's going to rain or not.
We will. But I think the LRC will win. So that'll do it for us for today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
970 WDAY AM.